I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps. I have a gash, a rash, and purple bumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry. I'm going blind in my right eye. My tonsils are as big as rocks. I've counted 16 chicken pox. There's one more, that's 17. Don't you think my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes are blue. It might be an asthmatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke. I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin. My belly button's caving in. My back is wrenched, my ankles sprained. My appendix pains each time it rains. My nose is cold, my toes are numb. I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck is stiff, my voice is weak. I can hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth. I think my hair is falling out. My elbows bent, my spine ain't straight. My temperature is 108. There is a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail, and my heart is what? What's that you say? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday? Goodbye, I'm going out to play. Lots of things come in twos. Ears, earmuffs, feet and shoes, ankles, shoulders, elbows, eyes, heels, shins, knees and thighs, galoshes, ice skates, mittens, socks, humps on camels, hands on clocks, and heads on monsters also do, like that one right in the back of you. I am tired of being little. I'm sick of being thin. I wish that I was giant sized with whiskers on my chin. No one would dare to tease me or take away my toys, for I would be much bigger than the bigger boys. My folks would pay attention to everything I said. They couldn't make me eat my peas or tell me, go to bed. I'd never be afraid if I were 10'3". I wish that I were giant size instead of small like me.
Burglary lineups. Brenda pushed in front of Ted, then Greg budged in front of Fred. Jackie yelled, "You're in my way! Why do you have to do this every day?" Then Jennifer cried that Joe budged in to stand near his friend, Benjamin. Sally shoved with all her might to get to walk near Darling Bright. Susie let out one big cry as she hit Patrick in the eye. He budged in again today. I warned him about this yesterday. Rosa stepped on Arnold's feet. He let out a piercing shriek. My toe is broken right in two. What a rotten thing to do. Miss Fee and Sally shook her head, wishing she had stayed in bed.
I'm wrong. I'm Wenjie. Figurative snake eating. 2 to 4 players. How to set up the game. First, put all the cards on the ready to use space. Second, put your pieces on start. Then do rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first. First player rolls the dice and moves that number of spaces. Take turns clockwise until the game is over. How to play the game. 1. On your turn, get a card from the top of the card stack and find out if it is onomatopoeia, metaphor, assonance, hyperbole, simile, personification, alliteration, or idiom. If you get it correct, then you move up the amount of spaces the card says to. If you get it incorrect, you stay in your current space. Red cards are very special. If you get a red card incorrect, then you go to jail and lose a turn. If you get into jail 3 times, you have to start from the beginning again. If you get a red card correct, pick a person to lose a turn. These arrows are basically slides, so if you land on this square, then you go there.
Smaller.
I liked making the little snakes in jail. I learned that working together you can accomplish more things. And what I'd like to change is that there's a little too much red cards.
Okay. All right, give him a big hand. Nice job, guys.
William Tecumseh Sherman by Wenjie Zhou. Childhood. William Tecumseh Sherman was born on February 8, 1820 in Lancaster, Ohio. He was red-haired, His father was a successful lawyer. When he turned 9, his father unexpectedly died, so his neighbors, the Ellings, took care of him after that. The Ellings changed his name to William because Tecumseh could not be baptized. After a few years, William went to the newly opened military academy at the banks of the Hudson River called West Point. Life at West Point. It took William around 3 months to get to West Point because cars weren't invented and trains were slow. During his years at West Point, he got an average amount of demerits, which were basically mistakes. During lunch, he would sneak some potatoes into his pocket. After it was time to sleep, he would hold parties in his cabin, bake potatoes, and sometimes sneak out of cabin and eat at restaurants. One of his friends described him as the best cook ever. When he was a senior at West Point, he met a student named Ulysses S. Grant, who was a freshman, and after that, they would have a great relationship in the Civil War. After Sherman graduated from West Point as a second lieutenant, he fought in part of the Seminole War and led Company A, which was encamped in Seminole, Florida. Their mission was to capture a Native American chief. Sherman was very smart, so he had a conversation with the chief while his soldiers took the natives' weapons. He shot a few natives and captured the chief. The Mexican-American War was not very fun for Sherman. His hope to get into real battle was when he was told that they were sailing around Cape Horn and going up to California to battle some Mexicans. But when they got there, another army, which had Grant in it, had already forced the Mexicans to retreat back to Mexico. After that, there was no more fighting. California and New York banking, 1848 to 1860. After a few years of serving in the Army, Sherman resigned his post of second lieutenant and decided to work as a banker in California. At first, his bank was awesome. A lot of people relied on it. But after a few years of happy life as a banker, a Great Depression came. Most of the population of banks had closed, but his bank had survived. After a couple of years, he had to close his bank. But then he opened another bank in New York. This bank lasted a shorter amount of time because it closed in another depression. Then he thought about going back to the military. The Bloody Civil War, 1861. After Sherman quit his going well banking career, he was a colonel in the U.S. Army when the Civil War was just warming itself up. When it reached the First Battle of Bull Run, the Union side was dominating at first. Then, this ruthless Confederate general, Stonewall Jackson, hopped in and sent the Union packing. Sherman's regiment held on for a little more than the rest of the army. After that, Sherman felt like he would have mental breakdown. He needed to rest for 2 weeks. The War Waking, 1862. After his mental breakdown break, he got back to the military, but this time he was a commander of a corps serving under Brigadier General Grant's West Point friend, Army of the Tennessee. They marched down from Kentucky to Fort Henry and Fort Donelson. Fort Henry was just a little task, no problem capturing it. But Fort Donelson was harder than a little rattle. Its defenses were way more mightier than Henry's. Still, they took it. Shiloh was a very bloody battle, but with Sherman's help, they killed the Confederate General Albert Sidney Johnston. Then they started the campaign of Vicksburg. This is the battle of Fort Donelson. In my opinion, Grant's Vicksburg campaign was epic. Sherman played a major role in it. Grant loved to do frontal attacks, so he tried two, both led by Sherman's corps. But Vicksburg's defenses made by John C. Pemberton proved too powerful. So next, they tried naval bombardments. The cannons and mortars inside its defenses beat the naval forces up. It still wasn't enough. So Grant started a whole new plan. He would ask Sherman to go to Jackson, Mississippi and capture it, so reinforcements couldn't come. Grant would attack parts of Pemberton's army at battles like Champion Hill. Even that wasn't enough. Since the Confederates were weakened through that part of the campaign, the Union decided to lay back and start a siege, and that forced the Confederates to surrender on July 4th, 1863. That was a turning point of the war, because the day before July 4th, General Meade had won the Battle of Gettysburg. Grant was promoted to commander of all Western armies, so Sherman was commander of the Army of the Tennessee. Sherman went to Chattanooga, where the Army of Cumberland was under siege. He broke the siege and wrecked Braxton Bragg, who was the Confederate general. Yay. That is the Battle of Atlanta, and this is the Battle of Cedar Creek. Grant was promoted to commander of all armies, so Sherman was awarded promotion to commander of all Western armies. Sherman marched his army to Georgia. He fought and won a series of battles to get to Atlanta, Georgia. He won every battle except for Kennesaw Mountain. The cause was when Neckerson, new commander of the Tennessee, accidentally rode his horse into Confederate forces. Obviously, he was killed. Confederate General Johnson was moved from command and was replaced with a much more ruthless general called John B. Hood. But Hood could mean stop Sherman. So Sherman captured Atlanta. After that, he started his awesome March to the Sea campaign. Sherman split up his army, a portion of 40,000 men to go under the command of George H. Thomas to chase Hood's army. The main part looted and burned their way through Georgia. When they got to Savannah, Sherman telegraphed President Lincoln and said, "Here's your Christmas present, 160 cannons and mortar for the war." They turned north towards the Carolinas. They did the same thing with the Carolinas as they did with Georgia. War fading, 1865. The end of the Civil War was not too much for Sherman. It was only 4 months. No fighting was really supposed to happen because Hood couldn't do anything to stop Sherman because he had beaten him in every battle and Hood was too far away. Grant and Sherman's plan turned out great. The only weird thing was that Grant destroyed Lee's army faster than expected. The rest of his life, 1866 to 1891. After Grant became president, Sherman was promoted to commander of all armies. He was asked to take watch of the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. He spoke to the nearby Indian tribe chiefs. "If you don't harm us, we won't harm you." I don't know what part the Indians didn't understand about that, but when they were building the railroad, the natives killed 80 people. The Americans killed 800 of the natives for revenge. Sherman retired the army in the 1870s. He died on February 14, 1891. My opinion was that Sherman was a very notable person. He was best known for his famous March to the Sea. My bibliography.
And their answer is, "Teacher, please don't look at me. The answer is a mystery. I'm staring into empty air. I'm sliding underneath my chair. I'm making myself very small. I wish I wasn't here at all. Teacher, pass me by. Please pick on some other guy. Teacher, call on me. I know the answer, can't you see? This one's a rap, a snap, a breeze. Just look in my direction, please. I'm almost bouncing off my chair. I'm waving both hands in the air. Teacher, ask me first, because if you don't, I'll think I'll burst." Decisions. Menu, under the magnet. Buy my lunch at school or bag it. Tacos, nachos, pizza with cheese. Burgers and french fries. School lunch, please. Beef stew, baked beans. Tuna, cabbage crunch. Mushroom chicken casserole. I think I'll bring my lunch. This year, some things I have improved in at playing charts are comprehension, oral reading, and presenting. My eye contact is much better. I like reading Percy Jackson and books by Rick Riordan.